Holy shit! Why can't I say shit? Any case, welcome to the console log. This has been a huge week of news. It seems like people went on vacation in December and January, and they came back now, and they've had some time to actually do some work, and there has just been an explosion of activity this past week in the world of JavaScript. This is the week of 22nd to the 28th, episode 24 episodes of the console log. Thank you all for watching along this show with me as I make this and talk about all these things in the ecosystem. This week, I just can't get over how big this week is, so let me just stop talking, and let's just start talking about what happened this week. You heard me talk about this thing before, the TC39 committee. The TC39 committee is the group of people who actually come together and figure out how they want to change, expand, and modify the JavaScript language itself. I've been using the JavaScript logo for a long time because they didn't really have their own identity, just two letters and two numbers. Well, luckily for me, this past week, the TC39 committee revealed an official logo. Brand new, and aren't you glad it's orange? Staying in the realm of TC39, there was a lot of things that happened this past week. Every so often the TC39 committee meets together, they talk about upcoming proposals, things they want to change, figure out how things can be evolved and modified. And this past week they actually moved some proposals in the TC39 proposal process. If you recall, there's 4 stages, or 5 if you count a 0 index, but 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. When it gets to 4, that means that it is final and it becomes actually canon, in the sense that this proposal now becomes a part of JavaScript forever and ever and ever. Past week, 3, 4? I can't count, but 3 big proposals moved from proposal 3 to proposal 4, meaning they're now a part of JavaScript themselves. First big thing is about async iteration. Before, there was a proposal that was adopted into core JavaScript about iteration support, where you can actually create a standard API for making iterables in JavaScript. That was for synchronous use only, and now with this proposal, now in stage 4, final, done, is async iterators. And here's an example where you can actually see the power that this can actually unlock, where you can actually easily await inputs asynchronously from a file. Very, 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 very cool. Number 2, the joke that is easiest to say is that finally, promise.finally, is finally stage 4. Finally. Oh, that joke is old, but it never gets old. You can see here this example. With promise.finally, you no longer have to have a local variable of a handler for promise.then that you have to pass into the then and the catch handler. Now with promise.finally, you can just put that in once and you are done. Don't have to worry about it at all. There is one nuance to the final API, is that it is not given the resolution or rejection value that you might have from the promise. So that means if you do promise.then resolve with a 4, the finally handler will not get that 4 value. Same with catch, because this is just a way to be notified when the promise is done and in a resolved or rejected state, and you want to respond accordingly without having to be aware of that actual value that's being given to you. Last but not least, there's other proposals, but these are the 3 that I wanted to highlight, is REST and spread are now also in stage 4. And this has been a thing that you've already used for over a year now. It seems like it's already been final, but it actually just became final, which is reassuring, because in my applications I use this everywhere, and if that became not part of JavaScript, then I would have a lot of refactoring to do and I wouldn't have time to make this show. That would suck. Other thing that's interesting that moved from stage 2 to stage 3 is that the proposal to make the bindings for a catch statement are now optional. It has been added as support for V8 6.6 and Chrome 66. So that means that instead of having to do try catch and having to have this empty, unhandled error variable, you can now ignore that entirely and just be on your very merry way with a try catch statement. Very exciting things in the land of JavaScript. It is evolving. Evolve along with us. Evolve, 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 evolve. Another big thing that happened this past week is that Webpack 4.0.0-beta.0 was released. That means the first beta for Webpack 4 is now officially out in the wild. This is going to be a huge release for the Webpack community in total. The 2 main things to highlight here is that with this beta, there will now no longer be any breaking changes to the Webpack 4 branch. That means if you've been waiting until the alphas have finalized to try it out in your application, now is the time to start trying it if you want to live on that bleeding edge, because this is what will become the final version of Webpack when it is released in February 24th. It's very odd that they already know the date that it's going to be released, but it makes it easier for me to talk about to you. I want to talk about 3 new big marquee features of Webpack 4.0. The first one is performance. They have done a lot of work focusing on making Webpack faster, because who has time to sit back and wait for things to compile? We want to be on the web. We want it now. We want it right now. With Webpack 4, there is one real-life report of somebody's Webpack build going from 9 hours to 12 minutes. And I don't understand that. It's amazing, but I just don't understand that. But whoever that is, I'm sure you are quite excited, because that is a dramatic improvement. Another big thing is that there are now better defaults. In continuation of this big push for zero configuration JavaScript, Webpack now will automatically set your entry point for your Webpack files to /source, and your bundles will be automatically sent to be built to the /dist directory. So this is cool. That means that if you want to use Webpack, you don't actually have to have any configuration file at all anymore to get started with Webpack 4. And last but not least, this is really cool. Webpack 4 is adding support for a property in your package.json of side effects false. And that seems innocuous on the surface, but the big deal about this is that it actually gives Webpack knowledge about how it can actually strip away other modules in your library. So that's a lot of words. Here's an example picture with Lodash and all the example use cases of where the file size is affected with different ways of turning on tree shaking and all these things, but you don't really see the true benefits until you try and side effects true. And if you look down here, you actually have a dramatic decrease in file size of practically just including that one small function that you need from Lodash, and it makes your bundle application so tiny. That's Webpack 4, very exciting. I'm racing to try it out, because if it has performance improvements, then I want to use that today, because I want to spend more time coding, less time packing. Yeah, yeah. In the world of React, everybody's favorite framework, React actually has merged into master a new context API. This is the oft-promised, oft-discussed, oft-saying, don't use context, it will be changing. It has finally changed after 3-4 years, but there is a new context API coming out in the next version of React. Here's a quick picture of it. It uses the provider consumer pattern that you might have seen from React Redux. The big exciting thing about this is that it will no longer be affected when you have should component update is false, so that actually circumvents that biggest issue of context API currently. It's also future-proof. That means that it will be supported and working in future async versions of React. And the most interesting thing to me is that it is the first officially created API in the React world that uses render props. And you can see this example where you get the value of the context from this render property inside of the consumer component. Again, this is not out yet. I'll talk about it more. This deserves its whole separate video discussion, but just wanted to give you a FYI that this is here. And last but certainly not least, not in the furthest of the least, my friend Jem would kill me if he said this was the least important news, and that would be a bad thing to do, but in the latest betas of iOS 11.3, macOS 10.13.4, I don't know if you can tell, I'm very excited about this. In the latest betas, it comes with Safari 11.1. This is a little bit of a secret that everybody should know, so I don't know how much of a secret it is, but in this new version of Safari 11.1, they have now included Apple. Apple has included in this beta version of Safari support for service workers! Service workers in Safari! That is amazing! I am so excited about this. I have been putting off supporting service workers because of Apple's non-support for it. Apple Mobile Safari is such a huge swath of the internet that to support that without Apple support seems almost like wasted effort. But now that they actually are adding it into Safari, I need to go back and do some more homework and ask for some help on how to get service workers working. In case you don't know what service workers are, it's a way in very short terms to create offline first ready websites. That means that you actually have a great API for creating websites that work when you have no internet connection. And for me, as somebody who rides the subway in New York a lot, I always love things that are offline, because then I can read it while I'm stuck underground with no way to talk or breathe. And please, God, please let me out of this hellhole. Oh my God. Service workers is coming into the next minor version of macOS and iOS. So it's coming. Start getting it in your applications to make everybody a happier, healthier, more productive person. Please don't sue me, Radiohead. Okay, that was it. That was a God God damn it, let me curse you YouTube censors. I'm kidding, it's just me making those bleeps. That was just a huge episode of the Console Log. So many things happened this past week. Hey people, can you just like cut down the productivity, because I actually have to have this episode and my own life in the same week, so less you do, the more I have time to just sit on my tucks and watch some TV. In any case, I hope you had a great week of coding. Take some of these things forward with you in the next coming week, because these are really exciting times in the world of JavaScript, and I will talk to you again next Monday. Bye-bye.